Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Goomer22. It's currently 7:30 in the morning. Got our coffee. Slay all day. December, the Christmas season. Got our Pop-Tart. Wild berry. Best flavor, by the way. But you know, I thought the draft content has been slacking. And so I'd go through and check all of the mons that were not drafted. I think some of these may have been picked up in transactions. I'm not sure, but I haven't looked at these, so I am I haven't looked at these, and I am curious to check what mons out here were not drafted. I know there's always a ton of Pokemon that I really want to draft, and I just end up not drafting them. Usually they're mons like in tier 5 or something like that, because they're like such a niche pick, but you only really need like one tier 5. So yeah, it's usually mons like that. But anyways, let's go through and check. We'll just go tier by tier. So tier 1, Aegislash. Actually, okay, I am surprised about Aegislash because Goomy hyped it up a ton, and he let us all down, I think, by not drafting Aegislash. So, Goomy, you're banned. All right, Clefairy. I originally drafted Clefairy and then swapped it out in the grace period. I can understand why Clefairy isn't drafted, I guess, because you do have a little bit more versatility in Clefable. I still think Clefairy's good, Friend Guard, but at least Clefable gives you the option to be a little bit more offensive and run different items. So I think people just kind of prefer that option. Conkeldurr, I can sort of see why it didn't get drafted at tier 1. I think it was a really good tier 2 pick, but in tier 1, I can see why people wouldn't necessarily want to take it as because you might only get one tier 1. So that's how I'm looking at this. Okay, if this was your only tier 1, would it be worth it? Maybe. Dracovish, though? Dracovish is good. I am surprised Dracovish did not get picked. It could be because the sand setters are usually high cost, but Hippowdon was not. Hippowdon is tier 4. So that could have been a really good sand mode with Dracovish. You don't need sand either. You really just need speed control, and Dracovish just wrecks. Dragonite I can understand. It's I feel like people are just the 4X weakness kind of scares people away, but I still think it's pretty good. Excadrill I can also understand. People, again, the sand issue. Sand setters are high value. You've got Gigalith tier 2, I believe, and T-Tart tier 1. So you don't want to waste both your picks on that sand mode. Ferrothorn, I can also understand. It's just really easy to tech on a fire move, I feel like. It's maybe a little too passive as a tier 1. Gothitelle, same thing. Maybe you have trapping, but just a little too passive, not dealing damage. Hatterene, I don't know. I'm iffy on Hatterene. I don't know that it's super good without Dynamax, but still decent. I think Hatterene you could argue tier 2, actually. Cortana, again, the fire weakness. Although I could see people picking Cortana. I considered it a little bit. Landorus, the only be able to run Intimidate. I get that. And the 4X weakness to ice. Milotic is super surprising. Milotic is so good. Saki used it last season very well. Honestly, I would argue Milotic is one of probably a top 10 tier 1. I'm very surprised that it did not get picked. Excellent draft mon. Naganadal, not surprised. The only reason it got picked last season was because Batista went mono poison. Because I think he saved it till the end and noticed that no one really wanted Naganadal, so I can assume the same thing. But extremely strong. Both of these, Naganadal and Neolego, extremely strong poison types, which is rare, but also just extremely strong Pokemon in general and fast. So those are, I'm surprised. Regidrago, I think people are just worried about the fairy types not getting the coverage. I don't know. Both the Rotoms, too. I can see where people might not want to waste their tier 1 on them, but they're extremely good. Rotoms are always nice for like Disquake combos and stuff like that. So a little surprised, but I guess I can understand it. T-Tar, not surprised. You don't want to deal with that 4X weakness. That's a common theme there. Tier 2, Alakazam, I'm really surprised because Alakazam, everyone was like, oh, Tier 1 last season, no way, no way, no way. Now it's Tier 2, way more value, but I guess the problem is with the points shifting down, like I'm very confident that Alakazam would have been picked had we had the old point system. But with the new point system, people were forced to pick more of these Tier 3s and 4s, which honestly, I think it was a struggle picking Tier 4s. I know everyone says that. But yeah, that's surprising. Articuno and Galar, I'm surprised based on how well Otto used it. I would have thought that would have been picked. Azumarill, I don't think Azumarill's great. It's okay, but Tier 2 seems high value to pick for it. Blacephalon, I think Blacephalon's really good. I'm also surprised by that. The Ultra Beasts seem to be not really getting much love. Blacephalon, Cortana, Neolego, Naganadal. I mean, where's the love for the Ultra Beasts? Braviary also, I can sort of see it not being picked. Darmanitan Galar, I'm super surprised by. It was Tier 1 last season, now it's Tier 2. This thing hits like an absolute truck. Anybody who needs power and on their team or feels like their team isn't strong enough, I mean, just swap your Tier 2 out for Darmanitan Galar. That'll just be so scary. Especially if you have like Defiant or competitive mons, to prevent Intimidate. I mean, Darmanitan Galar is such a good addition. Dracozolt, I can sort of understand. I guess the same sand thing. People just really didn't want to go sand, it seems like. Maybe it's because Colopsia grabbed Hippowdon and didn't grab any of these sand setters. Because if you were going to go sand, Hippowdon's definitely the way to do it because of how low it was on the tier list. Dusclops, I can understand that. I don't think Dusclops is super good. Even at Tier 2, it's okay. But, yeah. Gastrodon, I'm a little bit surprised by it. I think Gastrodon's actually pretty good. Hawlucha, I can understand. It's really only great with terrain, and so if the terrain people didn't want it, I can see that. Yeah, I don't think you would really pick it with Psychic Terrain that often. Maybe you would, actually, because it is a fighting type. But, I don't know. Not a surprise. Kangaskhan, I'm actually not surprised by. Like, Kangaskhan's a weird one to tier, to be honest, when I looked at it again, because, again, I think Kangaskhan would have been picked had we had the old point system, because I did think that Tier 3 was really good value for it in the old point system, but now you had two things going on. We moved Mons up in tiers, and we shifted the points down, so it made it really hard to grab some of these Pokemon. It's a great fake out user, only one that can fake out ghosts, but yeah, it's just it's hard to, I feel like, justify a Tier 2 on it with this point system. Like, it feels like a low value Tier 2 in this system, but a really high value Tier 3, so it's just a hard one to tier. Klefki, I'm surprised people didn't try. I think Klefki is one of the better prankster users in this format. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. Marowak-Alola, also really hard hitter. Lightning Rod, I think that's a really good value pick. Mimikyu, amazing Trick Room setter, and just good typing, and that's really cool. I'm surprised Mimikyu didn't get picked. Moltres, I guess I can sort of understand 4X weaknesses scare people. Oranguru, I'm so surprised by. Passimian, I can see. I can see people not wanting to pick Passimian up in Tier 2, but same with Porygon Z. But Oranguru, oh my gosh, it's so good. Just for Trick Room, or just in general, Instruct stuff, like, oh my god, it's amazing. I think Otto scared everyone away from Salamence. That's understandable. Scizor, I'm really surprised by. I still think Scissor's amazing in Tier 2, but nobody wanted to grab it. Okay, the other thing is the slows. I'm so surprised by. Slowbro, Slowking Galar, and even Slowbro Galar. These Pokemon are just so good. I don't know why. I feel like they're really good. They're just bulky, and they seem like they can still dish out damage, and they all have like really good move pools, Trick Room. I'm surprised that these did not go. Talonflame, I can sort of understand. It feels like a little bit just like Tailwind support. But even though it can do other stuff, but yeah, I can understand that. Tangrowth, I can sort of understand. It's a Rage Powder user. I think it's a decent pick, and you can go physical or special, and Uxie, I'm not too surprised by. People probably think it's too passive. Virizion, the 4X weakness. Circuitry, people don't really seem to like to draft Circuitry for whatever reason. But it's way too high value in Tier 3, I feel like. But in Tier 2, yeah, people just don't seem to gravitate towards it. Tier 3, Archeops. I think Archeops at Tier 3 is a good value. I'm surprised nobody picked that. People just don't seem to like Defeatist, I think, but I don't really care about that. I would draft it. Articuno, Lucian did really well with it. I think it did get moved up from Tier 4 to 3. I think it's decent value, but it's tough because it's like I think it's really good value for Tier 4, and it's like just okay value for Tier 3, so that might be tough to pick it there. Electivire, I think is pretty solid, but maybe people just had electric types. Espeon, not super surprised by. Frostlass, I'm not surprised by it. It's okay. Glade, same thing. Heliolisk, I think is pretty good value especially for certain weather teams. So that's kind of interesting. Lilligant, I'm not super surprised by. Machamp, I'm not super surprised by. Mesprit, nope. Miltank, nope. Mr. Mime Galar, Mr. Rhyme, I'm very surprised by. These are two excellent fake out users still on the board. And there was a couple teams without fake out too. Yeah, we saw Mr. Rhyme do really well on a Sableye's team last season. Yeah, I think these are really good bonds. I mean, I had Hail Mode, so I didn't really grab them, but like I definitely would have considered them. I think they're really cool. Nidoking, I'm surprised by. Nidoking is really good in this format, and you got a nice buff, because I think they were Tier 2 last season, but Nidoqueen and Nidoking are Tier 3 now, and you can go physical or special. Like, oh man, Nidoking hits like a truck. I'm really surprised nobody picked it. Runerigus, I can maybe understand. I don't know. Scolipede, I can understand. I think people just don't like it. Seismitoad, people don't like the 4X weak. Slowbro Galar, like I said, the slows, I think it's really good. It's less bulky, a little bit more offensive, but I still think it's really, really cool. And Quick Draw is an awesome ability. Sneasel, I'm very surprised by. Fake out user. Beat Up isn't as good, but it's got Inner Focus too. And Inner Focus, I think, is really useful here. Tauros, I can sort of understand. It's an Intimidate mon, but it always feels like it just falls short of what you want it to do. Thievul, I am very surprised by Thievul. I think Thievul is so good with terrain. So anybody who grabbed terrain, I'm kind of surprised. I think Thievul in Tier 3 is like good average value. Tier 4, it's too high of a value. Tier 3 seems solid, but I guess people just didn't want to go with that. Togedemaru, I think Gert picked up Togedemaru. I was so surprised this was not drafted. Togedemaru is such a good mon. Oh my gosh. 3 great abilities and just great move pool. Really cool typing. Yeah, I'm really surprised. Toxtricity, I think, is really powerful in this format too, but I think the 4X weak kind of scares people. Admittedly, it scares me. I'm just like worried somebody just, Stomping Tantrum gone. Tyrantrum, I can see why people might not like it in Tier 3. I think it's okay value there, but that's fine. Appleton, I'm really surprised by. I feel like Tier 4 Appleton's really, really good value, and with Thick Fat, you don't even have a 4X weakness. So maybe people don't like the typing or something like that, but I don't know. I think Appleton's really cool. Armaldo, not super surprised by. Behem, I think Behem's cool, but I don't think it's that great. But Tier 4, it's decent value. Sanduscorch, not too surprised by. 4X weak. Chansey, people probably think of it as a meme. Cloister, I think, is pretty good. I haven't really used it. I just picked it up in the VBA, so I'll see how good it is. I don't know how to feel about him. Cloister, I can understand. People, I feel like, think of it more like a singles mon. They don't want to draft it. Colossal, same thing. Colossal is just tough. I mean, you can pick up random combo. You could pick up like Colossal Blacephalon right now, though. That's a good combo. Corso Galar, I'm very surprised by it. That's good value for a Tier 4. That's really good value for a Tier 4. I mean, I feel like it's similar to Dusclops Bulk almost, and yes, it doesn't get Trick Room, but look at that 2-tier difference, and still didn't get picked. Ghost type, Eviolite, that's weird. Cryogonal, I think, is really good, but I don't know that people really like it for whatever reason. Ditto, I dropped Ditto. I think it's more of it's not a complete meme, but it's hard to justify in your team unless you really just like your team and you have no idea what else to get. But I think you can probably fit another more specific mon in Tier 4 to your team that can help with a niche, rather than just picking up Ditto for fun. Durant, I can sort of understand, but Durant's still decently strong. But yeah, the 4X weak. Ice Cube, I can understand. I don't think people like it. Phalanx, I can understand. People just yeah, don't seem to really like to draft Phalanx. Flapple, same thing, but you do have the 4X weak now because you don't have Thick Fat. Flareon, I'm sort of confused by because it seems like people always like drafting Flareon as a low-tier fire pick. So I'm surprised that nobody did. Fletchinder, I understand. Galvantula, I think, is really good. But I can sort of understand it. Greedent, I always want somebody to try Greedent. Maybe I'll try Greedent. I think Greedent could be really good. But maybe just people don't want to try it. Jinx, a nice fake-out user in Tier 4. That's surprising to me. Really nice fake-out user. Strong, fast. I mean, it's frail, but... I mean, so are a ton of other mons. Kabutops, again, the 4X weak, I can understand that. Lycanroc, I think Lycanroc's pretty good for Tier 4. That's not bad. Maractus also is decent if you need a Storm Drain user, but maybe, I don't know. Pangoro, I think, is really good. I think that could be a nice dark type to pick up. I'm surprised that no one did, especially with Batista taking all the darks. I would have thought that the other darks would be scooped up by other people, but if you need a dark type, I mean, Pangoro is a great one on the board still. Rhydon, decent. I can see why I didn't get picked up. Rotom Ghost, I can sort of see it, especially with the other Rotoms here. But I think Rotom Ghost is really good. Can't be faked out. Sandslash, I can understand with the Hail mode because we took some of the Hail setters. Scyther, I'm really surprised by. Scyther, I think, is such a good Tier 4. I mean, people might be scared of the 4X weakness, and it doesn't have the best move pool, but it is really strong for a Tier 4. Chuckle, I can understand. It's just a meme. Type Null, maybe too passive for people. Wigglytuff and Vileplume, I can understand. Although, fairy types are a little bit rare, so I'm surprised by that. All right, let's jump into the Tier 5. Absol, I think Absol's a really good Tier 5, so I don't know. I can understand that a little bit, though. Amara, yeah, I wouldn't pick Amara. Avalugg, I think, is great. Barbaracle, I probably wouldn't draft it. Basculin, I think, is really good. I think the problem is people probably just don't want to waste their Tier 5 on a water, so this might be good pickup if you want like a second water type that does some unique stuff. Blossom, I think, is really good value for Tier 5. Charjabug, I can understand why not. Cherim, I guess only if you have a Sun mode. Kangaskhan, I think, is really good in Tier 5. I really wanted to try it, but I'm surprised. I don't know, maybe people just don't want to waste their fire type on a Kangaskhan. I don't know. Corsola, I can understand. Cramorant, I really want somebody to try it. I know Colopsia does too. Maybe I will sometime. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm sorry. Dead End, I think it's really good. I'm surprised nobody grabbed it. Delibird has Fake Out, but I guess I can understand why people don't do it. Dottler, Dragonair, Dracloak, don't like any of them. Drizzle. Dreadnought, I think, is okay. Yeah, I think the 4X weakness just always scares people. Druddigon, yeah, I think Druddigon's pretty good. He's strong, sheer force. That could be a decent pick. Dunsparce, not super surprised. Duosion. Eldegoss, I'm a little surprised. I think Eldegoss is pretty good. Electabuzz. Xcloud, it's not great. Farfetch, Pharisee, I can understand. Frostmoth, I'm really surprised by. Frostmoth is so good. And yeah, as a Tier 5, I think that's a great pick. I mean, sure, you're 4X weak to Rock, but like the thing about Rock is it usually doesn't have 100% accurate moves. So you can use that to your advantage. And I think Frostmoth gets Wide Guard, and like the most common Rock move seems to be Rock Slide, so you can protect yourself from that, so that's kind of cool. Garbodor, I can understand why people don't like it. I really want to try it sometime. Glalie, I can understand. Golbat. Graplocked, I think, is really good. Well, not really good. I think it's okay. I think it's pretty good. I think it's decently good. Yeah. Well, so I'm surprised by that a little bit. Girder, I think, is not bad, too. Hippotas, I can understand. Impidimp, I can understand. Kadabra is actually pretty strong. Kingler, I think, also think is really good. But I don't know. I guess people didn't want to try it. Croc, I can understand. Lantern, I think, is really good value for Tier 5. Lantern, I think, is solid. Because you can pick up a water type that's not weak to electric, which I think is kind of unique and nice. Because normally, if you have a water type that's not weak to electric, it's something like Seismitoad or Swampert or like a ground type where you have a 4X weakness. But Lantern isn't weak to electric, and you don't have a 4X weakness. So I think that's cool. Lunatone, I can understand. Machoke, Lileep, I can understand. Marshop, yep. Miastic Female is decent. It's Fake Out user. Fast. Matang, I can understand. Ninjask, I can sort of understand, although I've always wanted to try it. Noctowl, I can understand. Omastar. Omastar, Pinsir, I think are decent tier 5 picks for sure. Poliwhirl, I can understand. Pukumuku, Quagsire, I can understand. Rapidash, I think, is a great tier 5 value pick for fire if you don't have fire. I'm really surprised Rapidash did not go. Relicanth, Roselia, Sandslash, I can sort of understand them. Shedinja's a meme. Shellos. Sliggoo, Slowpokes, I can understand. Snover, Solrock, Stunfisk. At least Stunfisk Galar went. My boy. Regular Stunfisk isn't bad, though, but I don't think people want to waste their ground or electric type on that. Sudowoodo, I can sort of understand. Throw, I think, is really good. I'm surprised Throw didn't go. I think you look at Throw's... You know what? Throw feels like a Walrein to me in this way. You look at its stats and you look at its moves, and you're like, you know what? Like, I feel like I get some value out of this, some power. It looks decent, and then maybe it just underperforms. I don't know, but I feel like Throw, like, you look at its stats and stuff, and you're like, wait, Throw's pretty good. But yeah, I guess people just didn't want to use it. Vespiquen never gets drafted, no surprise. Vulpix, Whalmer, Wartortle, Wishcash, Wobbuffet, Zweilous. I can understand all of them. So, yeah. Some of those were really surprising to me. But yeah, I would say in each tier, what was the most surprising? Probably. In tier 5, I would probably say Rapidash just because of the fires that never get drafted. In tier 4, I would almost say Corsola, Galar, or Pangoro. In tier 3, I would say the most surprising to me was Mr. Rhyme, or Nidoking, actually. Tier 2, I would say Oranguru is the most surprising to me. Or the slows, the slow kings and Slowbro. That's really surprising. Tier 1, the most surprising is definitely Milotic. Yeah. Yep. Those are my my takes on the undrafted mons. We'll see if anybody picks some of these up in transactions. Still got a lot of time to do so, and we're still waiting on all these week 1 matches to come in. So maybe after people play their games, they'll realize, hey, I want to take one of these mons. Who knows? But if you watch the whole thing, thanks for watching, and I hope I can keep putting out content like this for you guys. So, peace.